Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you so much for joining Birthing Confidence. I'm so happy to have you here for the They Are Coming Home, Are You Ready webinar. I just want to take a quick moment to introduce myself so you know who I am and why I'm hosting this webinar. My name is Jamie Mueller. I am the founder of Birthing Confidence, which is a childbirth education and postpartum doula support service for parents of multiples. I am a twin mom. I have two 2.5-year-old girls, Clara and Amelia. And I'm also a wife of my husband, Jody. And we also have a dog named Barkley and a cat named Yuri and a cat named Toby. So we have quite the little farm out here in Centerville, Virginia. And I am pursuing my certification in Lamaze childbirth education and also a pro doula certification for postpartum doula services. My background is in social work. I have a master's of social work and practiced social work for about 10 years. I now am work in business development in sales. However, I did a great deal of training in crisis intervention, suicide prevention, and community information referral prior to moving into business development. And so I have a pretty well-rounded history of in the helping profession. And I think that's kind of what has led me down this path as well after the birth of my girls. So I wanted to start out by telling you a little bit about my story, mostly because it kind of explains how I ended up going from social work into sales, but, and then all of a sudden taking kind of a right turn into childbirth education and postpartum doula work. Claire and Amelia were pretty unexpected, and not in that we were trying to have kids, but we certainly didn't think that we were going to have twins. We don't have twins. Twins don't run in our family. We're not, it's not something that we expected to happen. They were spontaneously conceived. So we weren't really anticipating it as far as going through any sort of infertility treatments or anything like that. So it kind of came as a pretty big shock to us that we were going to be having twins. The pregnancy went great. I actually had a really easy pregnancy. I really enjoyed being pregnant. So I'm sure many of you are probably flicking me off right now, but I really did have a very easy pregnancy. However, throughout it, I had a lot of anxiety about birthing twins. I don't know if it was because of how I wanted to birth my babies, but I just wasn't finding a lot of reassurance in the idea of having a natural childbirth with twins. My doctor immediately asked when I wanted my induction scheduled. When I talked about not having an epidural, I really couldn't find a lot of information about not having an epidural with twins. It's not something that a lot of people talk about or that is very common practice. So, I ended up going through Bradley class, which is another type of childbirth, natural childbirth education curriculum. I found that to be extremely helpful to prepare for natural childbirth. However, what it did lack was preparing me and my husband for the types of experiences and issues that parents of multiples might face in the delivery room and then in the postpartum as well. And I'm just going to pause and say I am very sorry. My children are still up and my husband's trying to put them to bed by himself. So if you're hearing crying in the background, I truly apologize for that. This is life. So anyway, we had my twins. We did my girls. We did actually have a natural childbirth on an OR table. Not a very comfortable experience, but got it done. It was a really good birth. However, the girls came pretty early. They were 35 weeks and 6 days. Amelia weighed 4 pounds, 4 ounces, and Clara weighed 14 pounds, or 14 pounds. Geez, that would have been awesome. 4 pounds, 14 ounces. Amelia ended up spending 8 days in the NICU, and Clara spent 3 days in the NICU and ended up coming home with us from the hospital. That was the other thing that we weren't prepared for. As much as we did talk about the idea of having preemies, you know, we kind of just said, oh, well, they'll just spend a few days in the NICU. It won't be a big deal. That couldn't have been more inaccurate. Any time in the NICU, whether it's a day or a week or a month or 3 months, it's a big deal, and it makes a big difference. So, you know, that was something I wish I had been more prepared for. I wish I had toured the NICU. If you do have the option to do that, I'd highly recommend doing it. Get a feel for it, so that when you walk in for the first time, you're not experiencing not only the shock of the fact that your babies are in the NICU, but also what it smells like and looks like and feels like and sounds like. Those are all, you know, all your senses are kind of moving into overdrive at that point. And anything you can do to familiarize yourself with the space that your babies might be spending some time in, the better. So, you know, that was kind of my experience. I moved in, you know, we got the girls out of the NICU. I ended up experiencing about a postpartum depression and anxiety. Again, you know, it was something that I didn't have a lot of understanding about, even as a social worker and, you know, mental health professional. I wasn't realizing what was happening to me. And I wish I had had some of the resources I'm going to talk about with you today to kind of be able to recognize those signs a lot quicker and get the help I needed a lot sooner. I'm happy to say that we are all happy, healthy, you know, thriving, you know, moms and girls, and even my husband survived everything. And we're kind of just trucking along now, and everything has gone really well. But, you know, it did take a lot of time, and the ramp up to getting to where we are today seemed to go a lot slower than I'm hoping it has to be for you all. And I hope some of those things that I tell you about today, you find to be helpful and help prepare you a little bit more for the experience of bringing home your twins, your triplets, your quads, your quints, or whatever you got coming at you. So I'm not sure if you guys are able to chat. I was hoping you could, but I was kind of hoping that you could tell me your biggest questions. There's a Q&A. I'm not sure if you have access to that. I'm getting kind of a mixed signal on the Google Hangout. If for some reason you are not able to ask questions, but you have them, please drop me an email, and I will put my email in the chat, which I hope you can see. And for some reason, if you can't, please send me an email even while we're on this webinar, and I will try and answer it while we're on the webinar. And if not, I will send an email afterwards. Confidence, not, I can't. But yes, feel free to ask questions as we go through this, and I will be sure to answer them as we move forward. And, you know, I just kind of wanted to know what your biggest question was for me today. Why did you join this webinar? What got you here? So if you are able to answer that, I would love to hear you. Oh, what's the best resource you found? Great. Oh, yeah, you can see it. All right. I will answer that question, Andrea. Thank you so much. And so I will flag that as we come across it. There's many, many, many. So, but I will tell you which one I love the most as we move through. Yeah. So if you have more questions, please feel free to ask them. So our agenda for today, we're going to talk about the emotional and physical aspects of the postpartum period. What are you as a mom going to be experiencing? What is partner going to be experiencing? So I'll pause here and say, I'm a huge believer in the value of that the partner brings to the birth and postpartum experience. Your partner is your teammate if you have a partner, or whatever kind of support system you have. So if they are around and you want to pull them in, and now would be the time to do that, because we are going to talk about things that affect your partner as much as they affect you as the mom of multiples. So feel free to invite them to come hang out with us for the next half hour. Okay, so yeah, we're going to talk about the physical and emotional. We're also going to talk about you and your partner. We know that relationships can take a little bit of a strain during this time. So, we will, so we need to talk about how to, kind of negate that from happening. We'll talk about a little bit more about NICU and preemies. I think it's kind of important considering that 50% of multiples do spend some time in the NICU. Moms and partner roles, we're going to talk about that a little bit. What should you be responsible for the first few weeks home? The logistics, those are really important. Logistics are key. You guys will be more prepared and more experienced in logistics than the UPS drivers, I promise. And childcare, that's a big one. Savings and additional resources that I think might be helpful for you. But I'm just going to start out right now and just tell you this. If you take nothing else away from what we're talking about today, this is what you need to know. There is no right way. There is no perfect way. That way is not better than this way. That's not how this works. When it comes to multiples, there's only your way. What works for you, what keeps your kids safe, what keeps you sane, what keeps your marriage happy, those are the things that matter. Not, if you're using attachment-based parenting, or you're using the cry it out method, or you're not letting them cry at all, or whatever that case may be, it doesn't matter. It just does not matter. You do what you need to do to survive and to thrive. And don't let anyone tell you any differently. There's a lot of judgment out there. There's a lot of people with a lot of wonderfully wonderful opinions, and they matter for squat because they're not in your situation. And so I hope that you keep that in mind. That's the one thing I want you to take away. To expect in the postpartum period, a lot of judgment, a lot of opinions, and they don't matter for squat. There is no right way. There's only your way. So that's my soapbox. I'll get off now. Range of emotions. You're going to experience a lot of them. So moms, you're going to be getting these little kiddos out. Yay. And your hormones are going to go wild. And partners, these are ranges of emotions that you're going to experience too. You're going to feel extreme love, or you're not going to feel love at all. You're going to be numb. That's a possibility too. That happens. That's not unusual. Shock, disbelief. Oh my gosh, they're finally here. Oh my gosh, we have twins. Oh my gosh, we have triplets. Lots of shock. I'm not going to go through all of these, but you get the idea. It's just going to be a constant wave of different emotions that you're going to experience, all perfectly normal, all perfectly okay. And they're going to come in waves, and just be open to communicating about them. Be open to experiencing them. It's not always going to feel like it does at that moment in time. But just know that you're kind of going to go through a roller coaster for a little bit. So what else are you experiencing? You're going to be experiencing all these emotions. And then, I'm going to talk about the not so glorious parts of the postpartum period for you. If you've labored at all, or you ended up having a vaginal birth, you're going to have vaginal pain. Obviously, you might have stitches. You may have had an episiotomy and had stitches. There's going to be pain down there for a while. You'll have ice packs, witch hazel, sitz bath. There'll be a lot of things that you can do to kind of alleviate that pain, and your hospital or your midwife can provide a lot of that information. Or if you hired a birth doula, they also will help you kind of get settled to help you heal faster for the pain that you might be experiencing. You're gonna feel cramping. That's your uterus contracting to get back to normal size. So you might cramping, you're going to experience some bleeding as your uterus continues to clear out. That's all perfectly normal. You might experience increased bleeding and cramping when you nurse. That's because when you nurse, you're releasing prolactin and oxytocin, which help your uterus continue to contract and get back to normal size. You are going to be fatigued. I promise. No matter what, you're going to be tired. You might have a surgical incision if you ended up having a surgical birth or a cesarean. You're going to need limited mobility. I'm just going to say this right now. You need to rest for 2 weeks. So get ready to do that. This is not an optional thing. You've just had major abdominal surgery. You'll hear stories about moms that are up and about and moving and walking upstairs, and it's just not a smart thing to do. You can, you could open up your incision. You could get an infection. You can have blood clots. There's a lot of things that could happen after major surgery like this. You need to rest. So be prepared to be immobile in bed and taking it easy for at least 2 weeks. Baby blues. We're going to talk a little bit more about this as we move through this. Baby blues are perfectly normal. You might have moments of extreme sadness. They might come and go. You're going to have highs and lows. That's all just, those are the hormones working themselves out. You know, parents of multiples experience higher levels of hormones. So, you know, it might feel extreme for a little bit of time. It's when it goes after 2 weeks or, and you're, you know, a month in and you're experiencing severe depression or anxiety symptoms still, or if you're having thoughts of, you know, hurting yourself or others, or hallucinations, things like that, that can be a sign of extreme postpartum mental illness called postpartum psychosis. Or you might be experiencing other types of mental illness that are brought on by postpartum, such as depression, anxiety, OCD. So it's not just depression. It's not just suicide. It's not just hurting your babies. Anything that's lasting more than a month and it doesn't feel normal and feels inconsistent with the way you were before you birthed your babies is cause for concern. And so I'd highly recommend making sure that you have somebody that you can talk to, whether it be a doctor or a therapist, to figure out what might be going on and how it can get treated, so you don't spend too much time in this, you know, suffering with this illness. You know, you're getting the help that you need. Breast pain, you know, that's common, especially if you're nursing, that, you know, if the baby's not latching well, or if you might have some discomfort in nursing or pumping. Make sure that you meet with a lactation consultant as soon as you can, so that, you know, you can make sure that your latch is good and that you have a good familiarity with you know, your baby and how they are feeding, babies and how they are feeding. Body image is big. You know, you've probably heard this, but I'll just repeat it because I think it's worth repeating. It took 9 months to make those babies. It's going to take at least 9 months to get back to normal, but I'll say for twins, it's going to take 18. And for triplets, it's going to take 27. You know, you've been stretched out, lady. It's going to take a little bit of time to get it all back together again. Of course, there's exercises that you can do. There's great postnatal classes out there that are awesome at helping you get your body back, but just take it easy. Give yourself a little bit of a break. You've done something pretty phenomenal in the last 9 months, and it's going to take some time for, you know, you to bounce back a little bit. Guilt, mommy guilt is real. It sucks. It's no matter, I've never met a mom that doesn't have guilt about something. You know, you're going to feel guilty about sleeping. You're going to feel guilty about eating. You're going to feel guilty about showering. That's fine. That's normal. However, it doesn't mean that you don't do those things. You know, you need to find a way of accepting that you deserve to take care of yourself as much as you take care of your babies. So that's mom. Dad, what are you experiencing? Or partner, what are you experiencing? You're experiencing a new role. Where do you fit in? You know, mom has a pretty defined role. What's your role in all this, in this situation, especially when there's breastfeeding, when babies are being exclusively breastfed? This can be an issue that arises. You know, Americans are food lovers. We tend to bond over food. We tend to share food. So when the partner doesn't get the opportunity to share or feed babies, they can sometimes feel a little bit isolated or not feel like they're bonding as well with babies. So it's really important for partners to find something that they get to do that's special. Maybe it's bathing, maybe it's the kangaroo care, maybe it's baby wearing, but have a partner have something special that they get to do with the babies that mom doesn't do as often. That's going to help dad feel like he has a special role in this parenting thing. There might be fears of fatherhood. Am I enough? Am I going to be a good dad? Perfectly normal, perfectly common. The partner might feel like they need to be strong for moms and babies. You know, mom's been through something pretty major. You know, you got your little ones that are completely helpless that need to be taken care of. And, you know, dad or partner might be experiencing something, experiencing some pretty strong emotions and feel like they can't express them because, you know, they feel like they're at the bottom of the totem pole, or their needs need to be pushed to last. So just keeping that in mind, and, you know, mom or support system asking partner how they're doing every once in a while wouldn't be such a bad thing. You know, making sure that they have an outlet as well could be really important. Exhaustion, again, you're the one that hasn't had the major abdominal surgery. You know, you might feel like you need to go. You might be pretty exhausted by the end of this whole thing. So just keep in mind that sleep is very important. Get it when you can, whether it's in the car, or, you know, under a table or under your desk at work, whatever it takes. Try and catch up on those Z's so that you can be there for your family and you can stay healthy and strong. And dads, you can get baby blues as well. It's actually proven that males' testosterone decreases in the first 3 months after in the postpartum period. You can be experiencing hormone imbalances as well. The National Institute of Child Health and Human Development found that 62% of fathers actually suffer from baby blues. And you can also suffer from postpartum mental illness as well. Usually it's due to the fact that your mom partner is going through a mental illness, and you're kind of feeding off of that mental illness as well. But 1 in 5 parents, including dads or partners, experience postpartum mental illness. So, you know, it's very real. It's something that you guys need to be aware of and keep on top of so that you can stay healthy and become a thriving family. And I just really love this quote. You can just Google Kathy McGrath, Finding the Path. She wrote an excellent article about childbirth and the rite of passage of childbirth. It's just a really, really beautiful piece, and talks about the role of pain and the role of the physical aspect of childbirth. But what I like about this quote is that even though Kathy's kind of talking about the actual process of birth, I think that her words really extend into the postpartum period. You're gonna be facing new fears and challenges, pains and hardships, but you're going to come out stronger on the other side if you can use this time to discover yourself, your partner, and the joy of your children. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I just thought it was a really amazing quote, and so yeah, I highly recommend you read the article before you give birth. I think it is a really powerful article. And if anyone needs me to send it to them, just email me. But it ain't all that bad. You're going to be parents. You're going to be a family. And you're going to have these gorgeous miracles. And they smell so good. If you didn't see the article, you know, that they did a research study and found that your baby's smell produces the same chemical reaction in your brain as shooting heroin. So you can get that high by just smelling your baby's heads, and I promise it'll make you a happier person. And they're going to bring you so much joy and comfort and healing and love. It's a wonderful time. You get to have such a special experience that so many people don't get to have. You're going to have 2, 3 babies, to cuddle and love and eat up, and they're going to be so different and so amazing. I'm very excited for all of you, and I hope that you get to enjoy every little piece of them. So I just wanted to say that it's not all bad. It's different. It's a new normal, as they say. So talking about a new normal, your relationship. Yeah. So yeah, it's hard. It's going to be different for a while. You guys, you can't go out on, that awesome Friday night date that you guys do every week. It's you don't have a million hours to have awesome sex. It's a very different relationship for a while with your partner. But it can also be an amazing relationship, and it can become a stronger relationship as well. And really the key, and this is not something that I'm sure you're not familiar with, but is communication. You need to communicate openly and with acceptance, and you need to really listen to what the other person is saying, not just, You need to actually sit down and listen and reflect on what the person is saying to you. So I put in some, prompts here that I think are really helpful. I feel XYZ and I need XYZ from you. I need XYZ because I feel ABC. And responding with, thank you for being open with me, encouraging that open dialogue and not answering back with, well, you should do this, or, well, I did this and, I don't feel this way. And that's not going to help anything. So just, keeping in mind that you guys are both going through something. It's not just mom and it's not just dad. It's you both are going through something and you're in it together. So help each other out, build each other up, and give each other some space and some grace. It's just a rough time. Moms, this is especially hard, but you need to let partner parent. You have maternal instincts. You think you know what's right and the best way of handling your babies. You need to let your partner make mistakes. You need your partner to learn how to do their own thing. They're going to do it differently than you. They're going to not think certain things are as important as you do. It's okay. I've learned some of the most efficient ways of dealing with my twins in certain situations I've learned from my husband by letting him figure out how he wants to do things. And just in his style, he does it more efficiently than me. And so I've learned a lot from him, but I wouldn't have if I didn't let him be the parent that he needs to be. So, go take your nap, let partner take care of kids. Let him do it. He will be fine. They will not die. They will be okay. Everyone's going to be okay. And if they're not, they'll come get you to save the day. I promise. Spend time alone with your babies. This is huge, 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 huge. You guys cannot rely on each other for everything, and you can't be around each other 24/7. You are going to need to learn how to get your babies just by themselves. You're going to need to learn how to feed them by yourself. So practice. Let a partner go up and take a nap, and you do one feeding session by yourself. They'll be right upstairs. If you need them, you can go get them, but try and do it on your own. I promise you're going to be so proud of yourself after the first time you tandem feed those kids. It's like you deserve a badge of honor to hang on the wall every time that you do something. The first time you take them out to the grocery store by yourself, it's like you want to have a freaking parade afterwards. I promise. It's amazing. And those are the proudest moments that I have. Those are the moments that have given me so much more confidence and so much more happiness and joy, is when I've done something on my own with my girls, because it's a challenge. It's not easy, and it's scary, and it's, there's a lot of things that you're worried about having happen. But but you'll feel so much more independent, and your partner will feel not so constrained, or like they don't have the freedom to do what they need to do, because there's that fear of you having to do something by yourself. So spend time alone with your babies and get used to doing things on your own with the babies. Also spend time with each baby. I think that's extremely important. They did come, as a pair or as a threesome, but they're individuals. Get to know your babies, and spend alone time with each of your babies. Maybe that's not so much about your relationship, but I think it helps to start to talk to your partner about each of your children as individuals, and I think it allows you all to have different experiences with each of your children, which I think just kind of opens up the aspect of your family as a whole. Set low expectations for each other. It's going to be pretty awesome if your partner wipes down the counter, because really you thought that maybe they would just at least put a bottle in the dishwasher or something. Give each other a break. Have low expectations. You'll be pleasantly surprised when they do more than you expected them to do. And then spend 15 minutes a day connecting uninterrupted. This is really, I think, whether it's do it before you go to bed, do it before you turn on the TV, after you put the kids down. Just spend 15 minutes talking, looking at each other, touching each other. It doesn't have to be anything extra, physical, but just try and spend some time with each other, and connect as two adults, and not two parents. So those are just my little relationship tips that I kind of picked up along the way. NICU and preemies. Again, another one to be hopeful, but expect it, and then be pleasantly surprised when it doesn't happen. There's a lot of reasons that babies will go into the NICU. These are just some of them. I'm not going to read them off. I will talk about the Apgar Score real quick if you're not familiar with that. The Apgar Score is a score from 1 to 10, and with 10 being I guess best, and 1 or 0 being worse. And your babies want to at least have a 7 or above. If they're below a 7, they are likely in distress in some ways. So they get a score for heart. They get a 0 to 2 for heart rate, respiration, muscle tone, reflex, and color. And so if they get a 2 on each of those, they're at a 10. If they if they get a couple ones in there, they end up kind of in between. They do this test at 1 minute, 5 minutes, and then sometimes at 10 minutes. And so this is really a good indication of where your babies are at right after they're born. So what to expect if they go to the NICU? You're going to see other babies and other parents. It's not a very private place, so just be aware of that. Some of the babies are going to be worse off than your babies are, and some might be a little bit better off as far as their medical condition goes. So just be aware everyone's kind of in a different place. You're going to have amazing nurses. The NICU nurses are complete angels. They will help you with everything. They will answer all your questions. You can call them anytime, middle of the night, to get an update on your babies if you're not there. You will get to know them very well if you're there for any short period of time. There's a lot of beeping. There's a lot of machines. There's rules. Cleanliness. My hands were raw by the time I brought Amelia home, because you have to, at the hospital I birthed at, you had to wash your hands for 3 minutes before you came into the NICU. So yeah, it's pretty rigid. Limited visitors. You're not going to be able to bring your whole family in to see the babies. If you have siblings, they probably will not be able to visit right away, at least. So just know that you're not going to have that huge homecoming right away until the babies are ready to really come home. You're going to be asked to participate in the baby's care. That's really going to help with your bonding experience. You're going to be asked when you're there to change their diapers and to clothe them and to feed them. So it's really an opportunity for you to be the parent that you are supposed to be, because sometimes it can feel like the nurses are taking care of your kids more than you are, and that can feel pretty horrible. So the more you're there, the more you're getting to do all the things that you would do as a mom and dad. There might be some interventions. So knowing that, you might, they might want you to supplement with formula. They might give your kids a pacifier. They might swaddle your child, whether you want them to or not. So just know that there's things that a better routine that they might do that you might not necessarily have agreed to or be surprised about. So just knowing that those things are possible, and being prepared, and making your wishes known can be very empowering and helpful to make sure that you're feeling like you're a part of what your babies are experiencing. Some other things: babies might be in the incubator. They might need feeding tubes, oxygen, or other medical assistance, like I mentioned. They're going to have their heart rates monitored, so they're going to have wires that are connected to them to monitor their heart rates at all times. Depending on your baby situation, you might not be able to hold them right away, so being prepared that might be a possibility if they're born very early. And if they're born very early, they might be too weak to latch, and they might need to be fed or suck, and they might need to be fed a different way. So just being aware that you might not be able to nurse right away. That does not mean that you will never be able to nurse. It just means that they might need to gain some additional weight and strength in order to be able to take a latch. So just being aware of that. One thing I do want to mention that we made a mistake about that I think is important is make sure your pediatrician has residency at the hospital that you're at. At the time, I didn't think it was a big deal, and my pediatrician acted like it wasn't a big deal that they didn't have residency. And maybe that's so for, regular children that are born that aren't very likely to end up in the NICU, but you want your caregiver of your children that you trust, that you've agreed with, that you meld with philosophically about how to take care of your children, the one caring for your children right from the beginning. The hospital pediatricians are amazing, but you don't know them and they don't know you, and you haven't established a relationship with them. And it can make the NICU experience even more difficult. So I'd highly recommend making sure that you have a pediatrician that has residency and can visit your babies in the NICU after they're born and be their primary caregiver. Be ready to pump. The hospital should be able to provide you with a pump in case you need it. Lots of kangaroo care, that's skin to skin. So, keeping your babies on your skin is a great way to help regulate temperature and encourage bonding. Be ready to feel guilty. There's that mommy guilt. It'll happen. You're going to feel guilty about something, but it's not your fault that your babies came too early. This is a very common situation with multiples. It comes along with the experience, unfortunately. I wish there was more that we could do, but we have amazing NICUs and amazing doctors and nurses that are very specialized in how to take care of our preemies, and so just being there is all you can do, and just having the most healthy pregnancy you can is all you can do and all you can hope for, and hopefully you won't fall into that 50%. You'll be on the other side. Be ready for one baby coming home and the other one staying at the hospital. That does happen, and it's extremely difficult and hard. So just think about what that would mean and what logistically you guys might have to do in order to, be with the baby at the NICU, but also be home for what you need to do with the babies at home. And be ready for 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So, your babies are going to get to a point where the caregivers at the hospital feel that maybe they're ready to, for instance, move out of the isolate into open air. However, they might get there and then their temperature might drop. They're not going to know that until they test the waters with your child. So Don't be surprised if you come one day and the baby's out of the isolate and everyone's excited and she seems to be doing fine, and the next day you come back and she's back in the isolate. That can happen. So just being prepared for that and knowing that that's possible. The babies will come home. I'm gonna move forward because I want to make sure we get to everything else, but these are when your babies will come home. The biggest one is the car seat test. You'll hear that all the time, especially in the Facebook groups. They passed the car seat test. That just means that they were able to sit in a car seat for, I think it's up to an hour without any signs of apnea, and that is pretty much the last step before they clear your babies to come home. Mom and partner roles for the first 2 weeks. So just wanted to point out that these are your responsibilities for the first 2 weeks. You should not be doing anything else. So I'm not going to go through all this, but just notice there's no talk of cleaning. There's no talk of work. There's no talk of cooking. There's a lot of things off this list that probably fall into what you would normally consider day-to-day routines that I'm saying you probably shouldn't be doing. And I'll talk to you about, well, who does these things then, Jamie? Because, they have to get done. I agree. But if you can make these your top priorities, this is all that's expected of you. This is all you need to be doing. And if you can find ways around everything else, then more power to you. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself in these first 2 weeks. It's a time of healing. It's a time of bonding. It's a time of self-care. Don't forget self-care. It's a time to establish your new normal. It's a time to establish your new routines. But it's not a time to be dusting and scrubbing the floors and cooking a 5-course meal and all that good stuff. Take a little break. Enjoy the moment. So who's in your bubble? These are the people, your bubble is the people that you allow into your space that are going to help you with all those things that you are not doing. So you need to choose them carefully, because if you do not, and you bring somebody into your bubble that does not meet this criteria, they can make the situation worse and not better. So they support your relationship choice with partner. So, if you're married or not married, or you have, or you're in a same-sex partnership or marriage, you need to make sure that they respect your partner and they respect you if they're going to enter your home and your space with your children. They need to support your parenting style. So you might be more on the side of attachment-based parenting or scheduled-based parenting, or whatever your style might be. Make sure that they support it. That's extremely important for parents of multiples. I had a situation where I was talking to somebody, and they had a very big concern about the fact that when they're by themselves, they're not going to be able to, hold each baby. But one of their supporters that was coming to their house was very against putting a baby down, and it was causing a lot of strife between the two individuals, because they wanted to help the babies to learn to cope without being held, and this person was going against their wishes at every turn, and it just turns into kind of a volatile situation. They support your wishes for how to interact. They comply with your schedule and how to track your daily activities. There's nothing worse than somebody that won't use your daily log, which I will give you. They are coming to help you and not themselves. They're coming to cuddle with those babies and smell them and, get that heroin high. And they're not doing a dang thing to help you with your house, or they're not giving you any rest, or they're expecting you to entertain them and to put out appetizers and whatnot. And no, they need to go. But who can these people be? I've listed them here. They can be grandparents. They can be siblings, friends. Parents of multiples. So a lot of parents of multiple clubs have mentoring programs, or people that'll come and visit. Church volunteers. There's a lot of churches that'll come and visit new families and help around the house. A postpartum doula will come, and their job is to do some light housekeeping and cooking and take care of the babies overnight and support the mom and help her heal, and be there for the siblings. So a postpartum doula can be really helpful. Even a nanny or a mother's helper can be as a place of support to turn to. Logistics. Keep a log from day one. I don't know if you can download this template. If you can, great. You should be able to click on the link. It seems like I can. But if you can't, this is all going to come to you in an email afterwards anyway, so you'll get it then. But it's just a very simple daily log for you tracking your baby, your multiples, and their sleep, eat, diaper, and medications. You want to build a schedule that works for all babies. So you're going to hear this a lot. Sync up the babies. Yes, sync up your babies. Please save yourself. Sync up the babies. I did not do it. And I ended up feeding one baby 1 hour, feeding the next baby the other hour, and then pumping the third hour. And I never slept. Learn how to feed your babies all at one time, put them down to sleep at the same time. If one wakes up, wake the other one up and feed both of them. Those are just the general rules. NICU babies will probably come on a schedule. So it was a 1-1-1 for us. So feed, play, sleep. You can mix that up however you want. If you find that they're tired after they feed, put them down to sleep. And then when they wake up, play, and then feed again. You know, NICU babies should really not be going more than probably 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours without food. Your pediatrician will help you figure out a schedule that will work for your preemies. But if your babies are gaining healthy weight and the pediatrician's fine with letting you sleep, then your schedule may look more like, you know, a 4-hour schedule on a feeding, and then sleeping for an hour and a half in between or something like that. So, you know, you guys will figure out what works best, and doing that daily log tracker will help you kind of pick up on the patterns and figure out like which baby's kind of leading the way, and really defining that sync schedule that I'm talking about. Tips for saving time and energy. Surgical birth, make your world smaller for 2 weeks. Keep everything in the master bedroom. You know, put the bassinets in there, or even bring in a crib. We brought in a crib and kept it in our room and just had them co-sleeping together in a crib for the first 2 weeks. You know, bring in a chair for the nursing. Make sure you have a TV in there. And just make your world a lot smaller so you don't have to go up and down the stairs and go into the nursery to change a diaper and go downstairs to get a bottle. Just bring everything to you and keep everything close to you so that you can, you can keep relaxed. And that's kind of safe steps. That's kind of the same thing. Or just have stations in every room is that too. So, you know, in the rooms that you pump in, have a place for your snacks and, your pillows to pump. Have a changing station in every room that you might be hanging out in with your babies, things like that. Baby wearing, so great. A really great way of not having to use a stroller. I will mention the amazing Crystal and Jared Workman, who own Twin Go Carrier, which is just an amazing invention for twins. And they live here in Northern Virginia and invented the Twin Go Carrier. So if you're not familiar with it, I highly look it up. I think it's a great option. But there's a lot of baby wearing clubs where you can learn how to carry 2 babies at once. That's just a great alternative, and you can vacuum and hold 2 babies at the same time. It's pretty amazing. It's like an extra hand. Avoid interruptions. If you're sleeping, turn off that phone. You do not need anyone calling you when you're trying to get some rest. Eliminate unnecessary tasks. I talked a little bit about that. Outsource and delegate. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a second. And prep for the next day. If you're going to be going out somewhere, get all the supplies together the day before. It'll save you a lot of time and energy. Make sure you wash the bottles, at the end of every night. Make sure you're washing out your pump supplies if you're pumping, things like that. Just get ahead of things so that you're not in a constant state of chaos and rush. Accept help. This is not a time to be prideful or to feel like you're not accommodating somebody or to feel like you're imposing on people. This is a time for you to take any and all help. I kept an ongoing list of needs on my fridge, and every time I thought of something that we needed, I just kind of added it to the list. And people came over and looked at the list and crossed off the things that they were going to do. And then, you know, and that's how they kind of solved it. I do have a template. However, this link is not working. So I will make sure to send that over to you guys as well when I do the follow-up email. And here, but here's just a example of some things that you can possibly do. Feeding, there's no perfect way. If the babies are wetting, pooping, sleeping, and gaining enough weight, then you have enough breast milk. So, you know, that's really the only way to tell. But if your babies seem content, and that doesn't mean that they're not feeding often. Sometimes they will cluster feed. But as long as they seem content and are having wet and poop diapers, you're pretty good to go. I did include a link to different breastfeeding positions that you can try here if you haven't seen those. If you do need to supplement, just any breast milk that you can get in them is great. I would mix bottles with formula and breast milk together, just so they got some breast milk, but I was exclusively pumping and just was never getting enough to keep up with them. But, you know, depending on what you're doing, you know, you can, if you can get any breast milk in, I think it's better than none. So that was kind of my motto. Donor milk, there is donor milk out there, and formula is a great substitute for breast milk, but cow's milk, goat's milk, or other types of milk substitutes are not. So if you have any questions about that, please talk to your pediatrician, but there is some rumors going around about goat's milk being a very good thing, but it's not. The baby's tummies are not ready for that. So formula is specifically designed to be okay for babies' tummies, but other types of mammal milk is not going to be helpful. Sleep, you need sleep. It's not an optional activity. So do whatever you need to do to get sleep, and do whatever you need to do with those babies to get sleep. Some tips I have: swaddle them tight, arms to the sides, out, or hands near face. They're saying to not cross them over the chest and push them tight into the chest anymore. So, but to keep them keep the hands so that they can come out of the swaddle, or put them down by the side and put them tight in the swaddle. White noise is amazing. So when you think about what was in utero, there was a lot of noise in there. White noise can kind of mimic the sounds of being in utero again. Co-sleepers, bassinets near beds, cribs. Just make sure you're following the safety guidelines so that babies are not suffocating or being in a situation where they might be more prone to SIDS. My suggestion is to put babies down awake so that they can learn to fall asleep on their own, but that's really up to you and your preference. During nap time, I recommend keeping daylight accessible and noise reasonable so that they learn that, you know, people are still going to be moving around and doing things even when they're sleeping. Childcare, know your budget and talk about your desires with your partner. You know, how do you guys want to handle it? You know, to be quite honest with you, with multiples, a lot of the times it comes down to finances and what you can afford. You might need to piecemeal it together. So maybe it's you work part-time and you're home part-time, or, you know, you are able to work when your babies nap some days. That's possible. There's really great au pair agencies in our area that you can reach out to that can be really helpful and end up being a little bit cheaper than a traditional daycare center. So these are some options. Where to find childcare? I'd start with asking the parents in multiple club that you're in if they know of anyone that's going to be releasing their nanny, or if an au pair is going to be coming up for grabs. I think that's the best way. Here's some websites as well. You know, Andrea, you asked me what the best resource I found is. To be quite honest with you, the one that I found most helpful was actually for me, Virginia Department of Family Services, or I think it's Social Services, because I could look up the licensing of each childcare center I was looking at and see their latest inspections and see what they lost points or were pinged on, and it just really set my mind at ease. So I think that's something that a lot of people don't know exists, but I think it's really important to look into so that you kind of know what your what your child care center is being pinged on, and or if they're passing with flying colors. I think it's just an extremely important resource. Here's some things that you can do for savings, and I know we're running out of time, so I'll be quick here. Breastfeeding, you can get your pump through insurance. You can request free formula from companies, or you can ask your doctor for samples. One of my girls had to go on a special formula while she was having a very bad bout of stomach bug, and my doctor gave me 1 million samples that got us all the way through that situation. So don't be afraid to ask. Diapers, we did cloth when at home and disposable when out and overnight. And we saved a ton of money by just using cloth when we were at home. It was just made it a lot easier. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can kind of mix things up. With your registry, just ask for the essentials. And some of the essentials are not material possessions. You can put a postpartum doula on your registry. You can use Amazon registry and just put the link to the package that you want from a doula service. You can ask for a birth doula on your registry. You can ask for, gift certificates or a food service like HelloFresh. HelloFresh will, bring all the ingredients so that you can easily prepare a meal at home. So think outside the box. Is what am I going to need to survive the first 3 months with these kids? And ask for that on your registry. Shop consignment sales, fairs, and shops. We know we have a really good one here in Northern Virginia that we just had, so I'd highly recommend that. Purchase only what you need for the first 3 months, and then go, do as you go. So, you probably don't need the tyke bike yet, or the 18-month outfit. So if you didn't get them through your registry, maybe wait on those until you really need them. And buy clothes off seasons. Buy them a year ahead of time. My sister-in-law does that. I'm always jealous because she has like 1 million outfits and she pays like $5 for them because she buys them a year before and the off season. Other resources to consider: parents of multiple groups, as I mentioned. They offer mentors, a lot of times classes and socials. A postpartum doula, I also talked about a lot. If you don't know what that is, you can go to my website and I explain it. There's a lovely infographic that can help you learn about what a postpartum doula can do for you. Infant care specialists, they're a little bit different. They care only for the infant, whereas a postpartum doula cares for the entire family and the transition to bringing the babies home. So infant care specialists are great. I actually recommend them for if you have a severe preemie situation or micro preemies coming home. Infant care specialists can be great for that situation. Amazon Prime, can't say enough about it. You can do a subscription service, save a lot of money, get things that you need every month. We found it to be the cheapest way of buying the diapers that we liked was through Amazon Prime. It's worth the membership. It's worth its weight in gold. Highly recommend it. There is a La Leche League for multiples on Facebook. So if you are very interested in nursing your multiples, I'd highly recommend joining that Facebook group to get a lot of inspiration and support. I'd also just like to recommend a financial planner. I think it's incredibly important as we're facing a lot of new expenses that you look into how you're going to afford it and keep up with your financial goals. And then lastly, as I mentioned when I was advertising this webinar, I produced a pregnancy, birth, and postpartum planning guide. So you can download this here. You do have to put in some information, but it is free. It does not cost anything. And I'd love your feedback on it if you think it's helpful or not. But it's really to help kind of walk you through each of these, and it's to help you and your partner in your conversations and have open communication about what is really important to you all during these different points in your journey into multiple parenthood. Okay, and just some final thoughts. Having multiples rocks your world in very amazing and terrifying ways. Being educated and prepared will allow you to enjoy your time so much more. Choose your support system carefully, as I mentioned. Make sure that they're there for you and not there for themselves. Communication is really key for all involved. So with your partner especially, but also with your support system and anyone that you're bringing into your home to help you. There's no one right way to sleep, feed, and parent your babies. Whatever works for you is what is right. And what matters most is happy and healthy babies, mom, and family. Mom, don't forget yourself. You are important to this situation. Partner, don't forget yourself. You're important. You guys are going to rock this. I hope you found any of this helpful. If you want more resources, please feel free. I keep a blog going, so feel free to subscribe to that if you'd like to. And I know we're over time, but I'm happy to stay on and answer any questions, or you can always email me as well if you have other thoughts or questions. I am here. So I will hang on for a couple of minutes to see if anyone has any other thoughts or questions, or wants to provide any feedback. And just want to thank you for attending this webinar. Okay, well, seeing no more questions, I'm going to wrap this up. But if you guys have anything else that you want to ask, or you want to give me a call, just go to my website and my information is all there, and I'm here for you. And congratulations, and I hope everything goes well, and you guys are in for a wonderful journey. I'm so excited for you. So if you do end up, if you are, when you do have your babies, make sure you email me pictures. And if you want to bring them over to my house so I can smell them, I'd like that too. My babies don't smell as good anymore. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks.